My name is Lu Hung, and it seems like I've traveled through time. On top of that, I've landed right in the middle of a powerful master's cultivation formation. But somehow, I accidentally scared this master to death, and ended up taking over his identity by mistake. His female disciple is as beautiful as a flower. But they're all notorious demons. I don't dare to touch them. As an ordinary person, I'm now surrounded by female demons. I can only keep pretending to be their master. But if they ever find out that I was the one who frightened their master to death, they definitely won't let me live. Luckily, there are righteous people out there fighting for justice and battling evil. Although, something about all this feels off. Fuck, as the master of these female demons, I've basically become the greatest demon of them all. Thankfully, the system appeared just in time. Maybe fate can still take a better turn? Is this the same kind of system they talk about in those manhwas? What a coincidence. And wow, there's even a Martial Saint Realm experience card. Who was that just now, saying I don't have the guts to show myself? Dear female disciples, I've got a question for you. What kind of experience does one get by practicing dual cultivation? Our story begins on a dark night, with thunderous clouds rumbling across the sky. At the top of a towering structure, a brilliant light shines intensely, illuminating the surroundings. Below the tower, countless demons stand in anticipation, waiting for someone. At this very moment, a figure emerges from within the tower. As soon as the demons see him, they erupt in unison, shouting, "Welcome to the Demon Lord Ancestor out of seclusion." We congratulate our ancestor on his successful breakthrough and becoming the first person to reach the Martial Saint Realm. May the Demon Lord Ancestor live for eternity, and remain unparalleled throughout the world. And this so-called Demon Lord is none other than our MC, Lu Hung. Staring at the scene before him, Lu Hung is utterly confused. Why are so many demons welcoming him with such grand reverence? Just then, a girl with sky blue hair steps forward toward Lu Hung. She is none other than the third disciple of the real Demon Lord, Jiang Jiao. She approaches Lu Hung and says, "Congratulations, Master." Seeing a demon this close, Lu Hung thinks to himself, "Stay calm." Jiang Jiao then looks at him and exclaims, "Master, your new body is so handsome." As she says this, she suddenly grabs Lu Hung's hand and adds, "You've become hundreds of years younger." Meanwhile, Lu Hung, struggling to process everything, keeps reminding himself, "Stay calm, stay calm." As Jiang Jiao presses against Lu Hung, her melons inadvertently squeeze against his arm. Noticing this, Lu Hung's face flushes red as he thinks, "What on earth is going on with all this? Most of my memories have vanished into thin air. I vaguely remember. My name is Lu Hung, and it seems like I've traveled through time." Meanwhile, in a secluded place, an old man is deep in cultivation. Suddenly, sensing Lu Hung's presence, he frowns in irritation and says, "Who has come?" The moment Lu Hung sees the old man, something clicks in his mind. He mutters to himself, "It seems like I've crossed over." The old man opens his eyes, and the instant he sees Lu Hung, his face twists in shock. He lets out a panicked scream, "To think that you took advantage of my cultivation, sneak attack." Without hesitation, he attempts to strike Lu Hung. But just as he moves, something strange happens. His body trembles uncontrollably, as if some unseen force is interfering with his cultivation. Lu Hung, completely baffled, instinctively hugs himself and thinks, "What's even more outrageous is..." Before he can finish his thought, the old man suddenly collapses onto the ground, his energy seemingly drained from his body. He starts convulsing violently, his voice weak and trembling as he struggles to speak. Why youngsters nowadays don't talk about martial ethics. And with those final words, he dies in spot. Hearing that, Lu Hung awkwardly scratches his head. He quickly realizes that the old man is truly dead, and panic sets in. He shouts, "This has nothing to do with me. I didn't lay a finger on you." Muttering to himself, he adds, "It seems like the owner of the barrier was frightened to death by me." After everything settles, Lu Hung finally notices something shocking. He is naked. His eyes widen as he yells, "What? How am I naked?" His gaze quickly lands on a neatly folded set of clothes nearby. Looking at them, he wonders, are these the old man's clothes? Let's put them on first. Without hesitation, he grabs the clothes and hurriedly dresses himself. As he gets dressed, a sinking feeling creeps into his mind. And afterwards, trouble has only just begun. At that moment, Jiang Jiao pulls him out of his thoughts, asking curiously, why does Master seem somewhat uneasy? As she speaks, she steps even closer to Lu Heng. Noticing this, Lu Heng flusters and quickly stammers, no. Jiang Jiao, blushing slightly, teases him, is it that a young body is more energetic? Are you interested in Jiao? Lu Heng's face turns completely red, his mind thrown into chaos. Just then, a group of people arrives. They are the remaining disciples of the deceased old man. One of them immediately questions Jiang Jiao. Jiang Jiao, what are you doing? A girl with long white hair steps forward. She is the old man's first disciple, Long Xian. She looks at Lu Heng and remarks, the master's uneasiness probably indicates that they've figured out the battle situation. Another girl chimes in, exactly. The master doesn't seem interested in you at all. He is probably worried about the demon temple. Jiang Jiao slowly releases Lu Heng's hand, her eyes welling up with tears as she begins sobbing. In a trembling voice, she says, I've failed in my duty. As soon as she lets go, Lu Heng feels a sense of relief, but seeing her tear-streaked face, a pang of guilt tugs at his heart. After a brief moment, Jiang Jiao wipes her tears and speaks again. Master has been in seclusion for several days. Disciple Jiang Jiao will report the recent battle situations to you first. Hearing this, all the disciples gather in one place, their expressions serious. Jiang Jiao takes a deep breath and begins her report. In February of this year, 4th junior sister Ning Yanran killed the patriarch of the Dark Flame sect. More than 20,000 disciples have already submitted to us. In July, 2nd senior sister Shi Qian and 5th junior sister Ji Rushuang planned an assassination of the patriarch of the Azure Feather sect, successfully gaining control over the largest sect in the western frontier, the Azure Feather sect. Last month, senior sister Long Xian personally went to the strongholds of the Wudong, Kunlun, and Amei sects. She pauses for a moment, then looks straight at Lu Heng and continues, Master, before you entered seclusion, you mentioned that we were to control the entire Qinyun continent. So during this period, Jiao has been busy devising our battle strategies. Hearing all this, Lu Heng's mind spirals into chaos. Why, are they all women? Moreover, this group of people, killing patriarchs everywhere, still aiming to control the entire continent. Aren't they just a group of female demons? As realization dawns on him, fear grips his heart. Fuck. And this Jiang Jiao just said, I ordered them to do all this? As their master, isn't he a great demon? If these girls find out that I frightened their master to death, they would certainly not spare my life. At that moment, Jiang Jiao turns to Lu Heng and says, Master, despite our glorious achievements in battle, the righteous sects have formed the demon-slaying alliance. So, isn't it time for you, old man, to personally take action? Lu Heng, still trying to process everything, asks, what demons are they trying to slay? Second disciple Shi Qian steps forward and replies, there are only more than 30,000 people. Since Master has already reached the martial saint realm, it's just a matter of flicking a finger. Hearing this, Lu Heng clears his throat and coughs slightly to maintain his composure, but inside, he is absolutely furious. I see now. So that old man Motian is always sending his disciples to cause trouble, but then he wants me to take the blame. This is really unfair. Shi Qian then adds, Master, the holy son of Mount Amei is just half a step away from reaching the martial saint realm. You, old man, must be careful when fighting. Long Xian steps forward, standing beside Lu Heng, and scolds Shi Qian, stop talking nonsense. Master's cultivation transcends the heavens, with unparalleled supernatural powers. Having reached the martial saint realm, are you still afraid that Master will not succeed? Suddenly, fourth disciple Ning Yanran and Jiang Jiao approach Lu Heng. Jiang Jiao smiles confidently and says, when the time comes, Master will demonstrate his unparalleled power and open everyone's eyes. Ning Yenren nods and adds, in the eyes of Master, the demon-slaying alliance is just a bunch of clowns. As they speak, the three of them suddenly cling to Lu Heng, showing him an overwhelming display of affection. Meanwhile, Lu Heng's mind is screaming, I feel like you want me to be beaten by tens of thousands of people. Trying to maintain his composure, he gently pushes them back and says, I already know all of this. You may step back for now. I need to go back and consolidate my realm. You all wait here for a moment. Saying this, he quickly turns and leaves. As he walks away, his thoughts race. Let's first return to the tower, and then see if there are any secret passages I can use to escape. Meanwhile, Jiang Jiao looks at the other disciples and says excitedly, Guys, haven't you noticed that Master's body is very handsome? On the other hand, Lu Heng steps inside the tower and starts tapping on every wall, checking if there is a hidden passage. He keeps tapping until his hand swells. That's when he realizes, alas, it seems there's no secret passage to escape through. Even so, he slowly moves toward the dead deity of the old man. Staring at the lifeless body, he mutters, regardless of what, I must hide this old man's body first. Sweat begins to pour down his face, and panic sets in as he anxiously adds, if by any chance those demons discovered it. He then inspects the corpse carefully. Suddenly, an ominous purple mist starts seeping out of the body. Lu Heng watches in surprise as the eerie mist escapes from the corpse's eyes and mouth. Within moments, the mist begins swirling around him. Seeing this, Lu Heng's heart races, and he shouts, This. What happened? At that very moment, his system panel suddenly reactivates. Staring at it in shock, he exclaims, Damn it, this is. Could this be the system that's frequently mentioned in comics? Then, the system notifies him, the previous host's complete mission hasn't been given yet, so this reward transfers to the current host. 3 Martial Saint Realm experience cards, valid for 1 hour each. Seeing this, Lu Heng stares in astonishment and exclaims, There are also 3 Martial Saint Realm experience cards? He then sits down, lost in thought. If I recall correctly, that old guy Mo Tian ascended to the realm of Martial Saint. I wonder how powerful a Martial Saint really is. Just then, another system notification appears. Memory synchronization from the previous host begins. Suddenly, the swirling mist starts absorbing into his body, and an excruciating pain shoots through his head. He lets out a scream of agony as the memories of the old man begin to transfer into his mind. This is a world that venerates martial strength, where everyone regards cultivation as their lifelong duty. The kingdom of Tianfeng, located in the Qingyun continent, is an ordinary kingdom with numerous sects and countless practitioners of cultivation. Ordinary people must assimilate the essence of spiritual energy from the heavens and earth to break through realms and become genuine practitioners, known as martial cultivators. Above martial cultivators exist even more powerful realms: martial master, martial lord, martial king, and martial saint. Mo Tian's cultivation and strength are incredibly formidable. He has already reached the peak of the martial king realm. He is the most fearsome combat force throughout the entire kingdom of Tianfeng. As for why this old man recruited so many female disciples, it was to cultivate an extremely sinister demonic dual cultivation technique. Each female disciple is breathtakingly beautiful and possesses exceptional talents that took Mo Tian years to find. It's a pity Mo Tian met his end before reaching the martial saint realm. This demonic dual cultivation technique requires at least the realm of martial saint to practice, so these female disciples have never been touched by Mo Tian. Due to the memory transfer process, Lu Heng is drenched in sweat, and droplets of it have pooled on the floor beneath him. After absorbing everything, he pants heavily and mutters, The old man didn't anticipate that he would be driven to madness and die because of my arrival during his cultivation. All these gorgeous female disciples, but none of them will get to experience dual cultivation, right? Suddenly, a thought strikes him. Hold on, don't I just happen to have 3 Martial Saint Realm experience cards? His eyes light up with excitement, and a mischievous grin spreads across his face as he murmurs, What kind of experience will dual cultivation be like? Hee hee. At that moment, something strange starts happening to the old man's corpse. It suddenly rises into the air, and an even denser ominous purple mist begins pouring out of it. The mist becomes so intense that Lu Heng has to shield his eyes with his hand against the overwhelming pressure. Then, as he lowers his arm, he suddenly notices something shocking. His clothes have been completely shredded. Once again, he's stark naked. Just then, the system informs him the equipment of the previous host cannot be used. The system has withdrawn. Lu Heng's face turns red with embarrassment. Wrapping one arm around himself and using the other to cover his little brother, he glares at the old man's corpse in frustration and starts cursing, "That old demon. Even after he's dead, he still wants to blow up my clothes a second time?" At that moment, a voice suddenly calls out, "Master, are you alright?" Hearing the voice, Lu Heng instantly tenses up. His eyes dart toward the door, and he sees someone stepping inside. As she enters, she says, "We heard some noises from here." Realizing who it is, Lu Heng's face turns even redder, and he lets out a panic scream. The woman standing before him is none other than Ji Rushuang, the old man's fifth disciple. Seeing Lu Heng completely naked, Ji Rushuang's eyes widen in shock, and she blurts out, "Wow! Master, what are you doing?" And she keeps looking at little Lu Heng in a certain way. Seeing Ji Rushuang, Lu Heng starts to panic slightly. Then, pulling himself together, he begins to think deeply, ahem. Behind him, Ji Rushuang stands silently, unable to understand what's happening. Meanwhile, Lu Heng thinks to himself, "Stay calm. My current identity is a demon lord." Then, with a serious expression, he tells Ji Rushuang, "I'm currently practicing a kind of partial martial arts technique." At the same time, he glances at the system, thinking, "However, it looks like I'm the only one who can see this system." Ji Rushuang slowly walks toward Lu Heng, and as she approaches, she says, "Master, recently, Ji also obtained a mysterious martial arts technique." On the other hand, Lu Heng remains deep in thought. At that moment, Ji Rushuang, with eyes full of lust and a sparkling gaze, comes up behind him. Leaning close to his ear, she whispers, "As long as we practice together, there will be miraculous effects." And the moment she says that, she wraps her arms around Lu Heng and starts to embrace him affectionately. Seeing Ji Rushuang holding him so suddenly, Lu Heng is completely baffled. He blurts out, "What's going on?" Then Ji Rushuang started licking Lu Heng's neck, and as she does, she leans in and whispers into his ear, "You only need to contribute a bit of spiritual energy and aura. How about it?" Because of this, Lu Heng's cheeks start turning red. Within moments, his body heats up, and steam practically rises from his face as it flushes completely red. At that moment, he thinks to himself, "This female disciple. Why so impatient?" Ji Rushuang, still holding Lu Heng from behind, softly asks, "Is it good, master?" At the same time, her hand slowly lowers, inching toward Lu Heng's little brother. Meanwhile, as Ji Rushuang keeps embracing him, Lu Heng, against his will, starts to feel a rising excitement. His body grows unbearably hot, and he begins panting, his mind racing, "This woman." Then, suddenly turning to face Ji Rushuang, he speaks, "But don't disturb the inner demon." However, deep inside, his mind is screaming, "I really want to try practicing together." Before he even realizes it, he has already opened the system panel. Thoughts rush through his head. But if I don't use the martial saint experience card to cultivate, with my mortal body, she will definitely notice that I lack any spiritual energy. His hand moves toward the system panel, trembling as it nears the selection. At the same time, another thought lingers in his mind. The martial saint experience card only has 3 uses. But it's meant for life-saving purposes. Just before Lu Heng activates the martial saint experience card, someone suddenly appears. It's none other than Long Xian. Seeing Ji Rushuang all over Lu Heng, Long Xian immediately feels irritated toward her. At that moment, Ji Rushuang notices Long Xian and, startled, blurts out, "Senior sister?" Long Xian glares at Ji Rushuang and sternly asks, "You dare to use charm techniques on master?" Ji Rushuang, flustered, hurriedly responds, I didn't use any charm techniques. How could I act so disrespectfully toward master, Furthermore, how could Master, with his level of cultivation, be swayed by charm techniques? But Long Xian, growing even more furious, shouts, "But your current actions are also disrespectful to Master." Meanwhile, hearing their conversation, Lu Heng becomes utterly terrified and panicked, thinking to himself, "Wait, so this fox demon really has charm techniques? But even without using charm techniques, you almost made me waste a life-saving card. Would using them really help?" Realizing this, Lu Heng suddenly feels a deep chill. So dangerous. On the other hand, Ji Rushuang and Long Xian are equally confused. Why is their master reacting like that? Then, Long Xian looks at Lu Heng and firmly says, "But if Master is truly willing to do dual cultivation with us, Long Xian is also willing." Hearing that, Ji Rushuang instantly screams in protest. Hearing that, Lu Heng becomes extremely startled and thinks to himself, "These female demons, why are they all so impatient, one after another? Are you all trying to use up my 2 martial saint experience cards? No, I absolutely can't waste them like this." Meanwhile, Ji Rushuang and Long Xian smirk mischievously. Lu Heng clears his throat slightly, ahem, and at the same time thinks, in order not to reveal the secret. Then, with a serious expression, he firmly tells them, "Master is currently cultivating in seclusion within the barrier. Who gave you permission to enter?" Right after saying that, he thinks to himself, "I must show the majesty of Mo Tian." Ji Rushuang quickly responds to Long Xian, "But just now, there seemed to be some anomalies in the barrier tower, and I was also worried about Master." Lu Heng immediately replies, "How could anything happen to me? Everyone, go back." Hearing this, Ji Rushuang and Long Xian answer in unison, "Yes." Long Xian takes her leave. Jir takes her leave. As they leave, Long Xian secretly thinks, "No wonder Lord Mo Tian, even during thunderous moments, looks so handsome." At the same time, Ji Rushuang also thinks, "Truly, Lord Mo Tian's serious and commanding presence is quite handsome." At that moment, Ji Rushuang and Long Xian lock eyes with intense glares. Their gazes are so fierce that sizzling electricity crackles between them. Seeing all this, Lu Heng feels a cold sweat of annoyance drip down his back. After the two finally leave, Long Xian feels a sense of peace and lets out a long, deep sigh. So guys, how did you like this story? And if you want to see the next episode, let me know in the comments.